Playing the Radical Latino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands in the air for New York's very own.
Radical Latino is taking you to another level.
Yo, what up, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Radical Latino Show. It's your host, the Radical Latino. What is poppin'? I know I'm dropping for Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? I call it, white supremacist murder day. You know what I'm saying? But I'm dropping for Thanksgiving because this is the episode for you guys. You guys already see the title. And I'm interviewing my dude Hercules. You know what I'm saying? That's a brother of mine, a friend of mine that I found on Twitter, and then from there we just been rocking out. You know what I'm saying? I love his information. He also has a YouTube channel, and he has a Twitter account. So all of his information, if you want to follow him and all that, is going to be on the link down below. But this is an interview me and him had, and first of all, the reason why this interview happened is because he posted up a video about how we shouldn't be celebrating Thanksgiving, and I 100% agree with that. That's the main reason why I even made this episode. And I told him, I was like, yo bro, look, I really love what you said, let's spit that real shit on my podcast and let's rock out, let's vibe off. And he was with it, and this is the episode that we got. You know what I'm saying? So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and here's an interview with me and Herc. Welcome back to another episode of the Radical Latino Show. It's your host, the Radical Latino. Now I have a very special guest with me because I'm bringing you guys a very special episode. I want you guys to put your hands together for my dude Hercules. What's poppin', bro?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, man?
Not much, just chilling. Listen, I want to thank you for finding the time to come in and have this discussion with me. We both know why we're having the discussion, because I feel the same way how you feel. So I know Hercules because he's from Twitter and somebody that I actually was following his content, and he actually put out a video not too long ago about how we shouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving. And I found like that to be something interesting that we should talk about, because I feel the same way, how we shouldn't be celebrating a white supremacist holiday. But before that, I want you guys to get to know Hercules a little bit. Now, Hercules, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm from Washington, D.C., born and raised, man. That's where I grew up at. Traveled around the world, got to live in Asia, got to live in Africa. My next trip, hopefully I'm going to South America. I want to go to Central America and spend some time down there. I'm all about, black power, black empowerment, breaking the chains of white supremacy, and that's me. I'm a martial artist, I teach, I have a school, and I'm a mentor with these kids, and trying to help the children out, help the youth out to live a better life and let them know, so the world is it ain't all sweet and honey,
Yeah, nah, I feel you.
You gotta educate the youth, man.
Yeah. We gotta teach these kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's actually pretty inspiring. So you say you a martial artist, bro? Like you be beating these white people's asses? What's going on?
It's funny. It's funny you should say that. It's funny, because the majority of tournaments that I go to is majority white people, and when I go to the joints, they don't never say nothing to me. When I walk in, it's only after I beat them, they come up to me and like, yo, man, they want to meet me and shit.
Yeah. They were like, oh, bro, how the fuck did you make me flip 5 times in the air, bro? What the fuck? So what made you get into martial arts and actually teaching it? Like, what made you do that?
Ever since I was a kid, off and on, my dad, put me into it because as a kid, I used to always get in fights and I used to get beat up, and I didn't know how to fight. So, my mom was like, "Look, take his ass up to the studio," and took me to the studio, and I started training, and I was just fortunate that the guy that I started training under was one of the top, martial artists in America named Ki-Wayne Kim.
Wait. Name what? Ki-Wayne Kim?
Yeah, his name was Ki-Wayne Kim.
Word?
Yeah, he's one of the top Korean martial artists, period. In America, in the Western Hemisphere. And I just started training under him. And his protege is a guy named Albert Cheeks, who took me under his wing. And that's how I just started getting into it off and on as a kid and as a teenager, just going back and forth, And when I became an adult, I didn't want to teach. It wasn't something I wanted to do. But after a while, somebody said, "Yo, you should teach," because I was a personal trainer for a while, and then the guy that I was working for, he's like, "Look, you should teach martial arts because that's what you like doing." So I said, "All right, I'll try it," and I tried it, and I kind of liked it. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't because I didn't think you could make a living off of it." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't really into it, but find out, you can make a living off of it. So I worked for a couple of people. And this one school I was working at, the parents, they was like, "Look, man, you are real good. We want you to start your own school, and we'll come and we'll train with you." And I was like, "Really?" Yeah, I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Nah, I can't do that to the guy who hired me because he didn't have to bring me on." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was like, "I can't do that." So it took me like a year because they kept trying to get me to go, and I was like, "Nope." But the guy started changing his school and started changing the way they ran things, and I was like, "Look, y'all becoming whack." And I said, "You know what?" I turned to the parents like, "Look, I think I'll pick you guys up on your offer." And I said I was out, and I just started doing my own thing,
Oh, that sounds way better than what I thought. I thought like a couple of kids were getting chased by the neighborhood bully, and they just stumbled around your backyard, and you were just hanging up clothes, and you looked, and you were like, "All right, let me just beat them up." You beat the neighborhood bullies, and they're like, "Oh wow, thanks, mister." And then they start, "How did you learn all that?" And then you started teaching the neighborhood kids how to fight. That sounds a lot better than what I thought.
Silly, man.
Nah, but Now, so what made you want to travel the world? Was it something like you went to the army, or was it something like you said, "Yo, fuck it, let me just go and travel the world and explore, but beyond what I grew up around"? Like, what made you want to do that?
I think I would have to attribute that to my parents. My dad, he had traveled the world when he was younger, and my mom was always that I guess that free spirit because she moved around a lot. You know what I'm saying? I lived with my dad a lot, and then my mom had moved. You know what I'm saying, on her own. You know what I'm saying? But my parents wasn't together, but my mom had moved, and she moved around a lot. And when I went to go live with my mom, she always taught me, never be afraid to go places by yourself. And I learned that as a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Just going places by myself. So my dad, and the opportunity came when I was in my late 20s to go overseas. You know what I'm saying? My friends called me, was like, "Look, I'm over here. Won't you come and visit?" And I was like, "I don't want to come over there." He was like, "Come on, man. You ain't doing jack shit. Come on, you got a place to stay." You know what I'm saying? And they were living in Cambodia. And I was like, "All right, fine." I ain't never been in Cambodia. I was like, "All right, fine." So I packed up and went over that joint, and I loved it. And I was like, "Damn, this is nice."
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying? Meeting a lot of people and stuff. And my dad had ended up retiring, and he had moved to Ghana because he always wanted to go live. He always wanted to go live in Africa, and he had met people here that were from Ghana. He would travel back and forth. So when he retired, he just packed everything up and he moved over to Ghana. And he was like, "Yo, Herc, you need to come and visit." So one summer, I ended up going to visit him in Accra, but I ended up staying for like a year. You know what I'm saying? And it was just an experience. And then then I went to Cambodia, and I lived in Southeast Asia for like 2 years. So
damn. So what was your
as a kid? As a kid, it was just something I always wanted to do.
So what was your experience living out in Asia? Was it different from living in Africa or whatever, or like what was the culture shock?
Yeah, the culture shock for me was Actually, it wasn't too much of a culture shock because I grew up, and even though I was born in D.C., I went to high school in California.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Out in San Francisco. So I spent time around a lot of Asian kids. You know, there were Filipinos and Cambodians and Laotians and Vietnamese. So I spent time with them as a teenager because I was attracted to the Asian girls. So
Yeah.
So when I went, I just automatically adapted because I just I loved it. I loved the culture before I went. And the one thing that I was surprised at was how they viewed Black people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like they was like, yo, what are you doing here? What are you a DJ? You know what I'm saying? What are you, a dancer? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, a fucking dancer. What the fuck?
Yeah, I can't just travel.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? So what I found out is that they don't, over in Asia, especially like in Korea and China and Japan, and like especially the northern part of Asia, which is crazy if you actually think about it. They view Black people as dumb.
Yeah?
And yeah, but when you go south to like Vietnam, Cambodia, they will embrace you as a brother if you embrace them as brothers. You know what I'm saying? Because when I got to Cambodia for like my first 2 months, I was hanging out at the clubs where all the foreigners was hanging out. Mainly a lot of white people, the Norwegians, the Australians, the Dutch, and the British. I was hanging out at bars and clubs with them, and they really wouldn't speak to me.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, wait a minute, Herc, why the hell are you trying to hang out with white people overseas when I'm in America? I don't even hang out with white people.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Let me hit the hood, and I just hit the hood in Cambodia, and they looked at me, was like, yo, my man, what are you doing here, son?
Yeah. Do you think it's because of the culture where I believe during the Vietnam War, the general or the dictator, I don't know, whoever, they studied under Marcus Garvey and they viewed as Black people as soul brothers. Do you think that's the reason why?
Some of from my experience, what I experienced was that a lot of the, like I said, in the South, like say Thailand, I'm talking about Southern Asia, South Asia.
Yeah.
All right. So Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, Singapore, all that, Philippines, right? From what I learned from being over there, the people that graduated from Western universities or a Western school, private school, they coming away with that ideology that Black people are dumb. But those people who never went to the Western universities, who never went to Western schools, they embrace you like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're a brother. They're like, yo, we brothers, man. You brown, I'm brown. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, because I started, you know what I'm saying? The Cambodian people, the Vietnamese, the Thai people I would meet that had that education, that had them college degrees, always had that, that uppity air about them, like they was better. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I was like, y'all got brainwashed, and now y'all think y'all better than the motherfuckers. You know
pretty much, yeah, pretty much. That's funny. So, when you went to Africa, how was that like? Was that the same thing, a culture shock, or was it way different?
I would say it was I was definitely a culture shock because I didn't know what to expect. That was my first time. I arrived at night, so it was just like, wow, you know what I'm saying? You're stepping off the plane, and it's funny because Cambodia. When I got to Cambodia, Philippines, and Vietnam, they all had that same smell.
Yeah,
it smells like dirt and oil in the air for some reason.
Yeah.
So, but it was people, like I said, people over in Africa, I mean, they embrace you, you know what I'm saying? You come over there humble and not, you know what I'm saying, like some arrogant ass American. And that's why I tell people, yo, do not act like an American when you go overseas, all right? Because you will get your ass in trouble. And I definitely got in trouble, which is why I had to stay a year, because I ended up getting locked up.
Oh, damn! Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. You got locked up abroad, bro? Were you trying to bring in coke or something? Like, what's going on?
Nah, man. I was acting like an American. I got into a fight with, just got into a street fight with some brothers over there. And, I had that American
that's how you
attitude.
really learned how to fight over there. Yeah, you learned in the prison, bro. That's what it was. No, let me stop.
So, man, it's like, I tell people, man, don't act like American when you go there. Kind of, recognize the behavior, the etiquette and stuff over there, and do what they do. You know what I'm saying? That way you don't find yourself in trouble.
Wait. So how long were you locked up for?
Oh, I only had to do 2 months.
Oh, 2 months? But was a prison? Damn, whoa, that's because I've been locked up here, so that's what I'm saying. Is the prisons way different from here than there? Obviously, but like, how different are they?
Oh hell yeah, American prison is luxury, man.
Oh yeah, I could imagine.
Luxury, man. So yeah, it was crazy because for like the first 2 days I was in there, because my dad didn't know where I was at. And I wasn't able to call him. And the first 2 days I didn't eat.
Oh,
they don't have to feed you.
What?
they ain't gotta feed you. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got the rules and the laws that we got over here. So that was like crazy. I was like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was wild. It was a wild experience, man.
That's crazy. All right. So what was I going? So how was Africa then? How was that?
It was lovely, man. I learned a lot, you know what I'm saying, about the culture. One thing for me, as a teenager here in America, I was always attracted to girls that were from the motherland, from Africa.
Yeah.
And I would try to date them. And what I was confused about was, why in the hell were they so much more American, had much more American pride than I did when I grew up here.
Yeah.
And so when I went over there, I found out is that their brainwashing from the Europeans over in Africa is worse than what we have over here.
Shut up. For real?
These guys, they love and idolize, Americans and white people. And it was funny because I was trying to say to them, like, wait, hold up. Why you love white people? This and that. They're like, no. We don't respect the British because we know the British treated us wrong. We like the Americans. You know what I'm saying? I said, whoa, hold up. Wait, you think they're two different people?
Yeah. Oh, shit.
That's how they see it. They see them as two different, two different people. Like, no.
Oh,
no.
Nah.
They the same motherfuckers, man. They the same group, man.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Get the fuck out of here.
So, yeah, I was like, no, because that's how they saw. They see Americans as the good guys, the British are the bad guys, because it was colonized by the British.
Yeah.
And so their educational system is steeped into the like a Western style curriculum. One of the things I wanted to learn when I got there was like I wanted to learn more about African philosophy. I heard so much about it. So I was like, damn, I want to notice. So people was telling me, go to the University of Accra. Maybe they had the books there for you. So I would go to the university. I went to the university, went to the bookstore, and on the shelf, all they had was philosophy books from Europeans.
What?
That's it. They had Hegel and Descartes.
Oh,
nah. And I was like, where is the African philosophy? And they was looking at me like I was dumb. They was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Like you had three heads, right? They were like, why the fuck you want to know about African philosophy?
Yeah. I was like, what the hell? They're like, we don't study that. So this was actually like, I went over there in 2002, I believe. I was over there.
Damn.
And from what I'm seeing and learning now, there is a push now to where they're starting to embrace, African philosophy over there. There's a brother over there named Dr. Cambone. He teaches at the University of Accra, and he's from America, and he's definitely, pushing, telling that we need to learn more about our history, your history, and
that's what's up, bro. That's what's up, bro. Oh shit.
it was an experience, you know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
was fun. I had fun. I met a lot of good people, you know what I'm saying? I went to the slave dungeons, you know, they call it slave castles. You know, I
Yeah.
went to them, you know, checked it out, and you know, it was just an experience, you know,
Yeah.
just to be there and actually like wow, I'm actually here, you know, where my ancestors came from, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, man, you know.
Yeah. So what made you, now you see a lot of times people who, you know, black and Latin, we find out our history, find out that we were enslaved, we find out all this other shit, and there's two different roads certain people take. We either fight against white supremacy or we bow down and accept it. What made you, because I seen your Twitter, I seen some of your YouTube videos, what made you want to fight white supremacy?
I guess I got to attribute that to my dad. He was definitely a strong African American who emphasized on studying African history and standing up against, you know, white supremacy and standing up against white, when, you know, we can't bow down to them no more. And that was like, you know, he made it mandatory that I read. When I started, I had to read when I was 13. Both my martial arts teacher and my dad, you know, say both, you know, forced me to read books. And one of the first books my dad gave me was this book called African People and European Holidays. And it was like, wow, what? You know, it was kind of like a mind opening. So that was like my first, you know, saying, introduction to the African American studies.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I was 13, and on top of that, he forced us to watch. It used to be a television program that came on PBS called For the People, which had Black American scholars, you know, talk about African history and psychology, just like, you know, talk shows today, but all the scholars on there were Black, and they were just getting into, you know, this deep history stuff. So, you know, all the scholars that you hear about, like John Henry Clark, Amos Wilson, and Marima Ani, and, you know, Ida Van Serve, all these people on it. So as a kid, we had to watch this show. And after the show went off, you had to be able to tell my dad 3 different things. And if you couldn't tell him, then you got your butt whooped.
Nah.
So it started young with that African American studies. And as I got older, you know, I'm just, you know what I'm saying, as I got older, just living in the world, you know what I'm saying, you just started to see things, you just started to think like, wait a minute, man, why is this and why is that? And, you know, and we see the injustice that's happening to our people all the time, and it's like, yo, this is crazy, this has got to stop. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm at the point where I tell people, my whole thing now is I tell people we have to let go of Western culture if we're going to survive. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to survive as a people, and if the planet is going to survive, we got to let go of Western culture. Period. You know, so so that it's just you know how the direction that Western culture is taking the planet in and taking us towards is not good, and so you know you have to speak out against it. We have to stand up against it, man.
Yeah. Now that's a very good way of segueing to our main topic. You know what I'm saying? Our main topic. Why shouldn't we celebrate Thanksgiving? Now, I'm not going to be here playing devil's advocate whatsoever, because sometimes I like to do that so the conversation could keep on flowing. But right now, I'm totally going to agree with you. We shouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas, or how my Latin people call it, you know, Thanksgiving or Crima. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to totally agree with you. Now, tell me why you decided to make that type of video.
Because
wait, somebody, I don't know, somebody's calling me. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, because, you know, that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? It's a holiday that we are participating in, and we celebrating the death. You know what I'm saying? When I say our, understand that I'm talking about Black people, African people, ancestors, and I'm talking about the indigenous Latino people in America, the indigenous natives. here in America. When I'm referring to our and we, okay?
You got to make that
So-
distinction very clear. Yeah, you're right.
So when I say that, that's what I'm referring to. So we are celebrating death of our ancestors. You know what I'm saying? And we're participating in that. And people are not understanding that when we participate in white people holidays and European holidays, this strengthens them. It makes their spirit stronger. It makes Western culture stronger. It makes white supremacy stronger. You know what I'm saying? So as an African descendant, and you know what I'm saying, I also have indigenous people in my family line. I have Latino people from Cuba in my family line. As a descendant and of an indigenous descendant, I'm looking back and we like, hold up, man. How you want to celebrate the death and slaughter of the people, you know what I'm saying, of your ancestors?
And something we have to be very, very cognizant and clear about. When Thanksgiving started, it had nothing to do with the celebration of togetherness. This happened later on when they try to whitewash the history of Thanksgiving. That happened later on. The crazy thing is, when, mind you, I grew up here, I learned the curriculum from schools and stuff like that. When a white man told my class that it's crazy that all of you, black and brown folks, are celebrating Thanksgiving and celebrating Columbus Day and all that with somebody that enslaved you, my jaw as a kid dropped. And I literally looked at my teacher. I shit you not. I literally looked at my teacher and I said, for real? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, is he for real? And she literally did not look me in my face and looked down. And she was like, yeah, that. And I'm like, wait a minute. And from that moment on, I started to learn more and more and more and more and more and more, wanting to know more. And whenever that day came, I never felt like it was part of me. Never felt like it was something I should be celebrating, even though people around me celebrated it. And I want to say this real quick. Just because there's a holiday that's happening, that's national holiday here in America, does not mean you need to celebrate it, or you're celebrating it just because your job is out that you can't work, or you're just sitting down, just chilling, or whatever the case is, and everything stopped. That doesn't mean you're celebrating it. Because a lot of people say, well, in the system of white supremacy, you're still celebrating it, even though you're not celebrating it. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that does not mean that it's true. Celebrating is something that you're participating in. If you're not participating in that celebration, you're not celebrating it. Regardless if you want to say that everything stopped or whatever the case, nothing is really working right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, regardless. But the thing is, it's kind of funny because if you really look down into the history of Thanksgiving, it actually starts back in 1637 in Massachusetts with this governor who actually declared Thanksgiving of a celebration because the colonists war of volunteers left to go fight the Pecan Indian tribe. And this is a massacre of 700 Indian people. And this is the real story of Thanksgiving. Something that we're going to be celebrating, the massacre of our people, when the real people who should be celebrating Thanksgiving is white folks. And on top of that, what are they really celebrating? They're celebrating the slaughter of our people. You know what I'm saying? That's celebrating white supremacy again. And what Nellie Fuller says, there's 9 areas of activity that white supremacy affects. And by the fact that we got indoctrinated to say, oh, Thanksgiving, there's nothing wrong with it. Actually, there is. That's the celebration of our slaughter. Celebration of our people being decimated and mangled and all that. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, for a lot of black people who don't think Thanksgiving had anything to do with y'all, which is wrong, because black people were already here in Americas. They were intermingled with the native people. You know what I'm saying? For what my understanding is, I could be completely wrong, but for what my understanding is, that's what it was. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, some people have that viewpoint. I would go. I mean, I'm kind of on the edge with that viewpoint, but I definitely understand what you're saying. Black people. I mean, we should be celebrating that period because we're assisting, and like I said, we're assisting into that spirit of white supremacy. We are helping the European asili, you know what I'm saying, which we learned from Marima Ani, the cultural seed that they feed off of, and as we celebrate and give thanks, their culture gets strong. Now, like you said, many people say, you know, especially many African Americans are like, look, man, I'm not celebrating that. You know, I'm not celebrating that history and that slaughter. I'm just being thankful, being grateful, you know, for another year and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm saying, no. As long as you are being thankful and giving thanks and gathering together on that day, you know, on that day at that time,
it's still celebrating.
And therefore, you are participating, because you hear every year, everybody talks about, you know, we're just getting into the holiday spirit, the spirit of the holiday. What spirit are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right.
You're talking about the spirit of white supremacy, the European spirit, the cultural spirit.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about. And therefore, if you're getting into the cultural spirit, therefore you are strengthening that spirit. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't do us any good as a people because our ancestors understood what spirit is and how it works.
Yep.
You know, the indigenous people was heavily into understanding the spiritual world and understanding you have to give praise and libations to the spiritual world, and African people did the same thing. So when we're getting together on these holidays and participating in, that's the modern day of giving libation and praise to the spiritual world of the European spirit, and that's why it is so strong. Their culture is so strong and is dominating everywhere, and people just don't want to wake up out of the matrix and don't want to see for what it is. As much as you can tell them, hey, look, man, you got to stop doing this. We have to stop doing that. You know, it's like, nah, man.
It's
you know,
really,
you just want to go backwards to the whole damn day.
Yeah,
like,
it's really.
We try to wake up.
Yeah, it's really funny how you said about the Matrix, because remember that one part when Morpheus tells Neo that these people are so embedded with the Matrix they will fight to defend it, and it's, you know, it's absolutely true when it comes to, you know, us in the system of white supremacy. You see a bunch of other people, you know, Dominicoons, Latin coons, black coons, just talking about, yo, there's no racism. Yeah, there is white supremacy, but I don't see it. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just, you know what I'm saying? So you see all these other things going on with these people who white supremacy is right in their face, and they choose to ignore it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And actually, wow, it's funny because I remember when I was, I want to say 16, about 17, and my mom's friends, her friends used to always enjoy talking to me because, you know, like I said, as a teenager, I read books and, you know, I was on that intellectual level. So they would come to the house, some of them would be like, yo, man, and they would like talk because I could converse with them on that level, you know, the adults, right? So this one brother came over one time and he saw me watching a video of, it was probably somebody like, you know, Asa G. Hilliard or John Henry Clark. And he was like, yo, you know this guy? I said, yeah. He's like, yo, he is deep. I really like him. I'm on his neck. And I turned to him, I said, wait, hold up. Because he was heavy into the church. He was a Christian. And I said, wait a minute. How are you a Christian and you know all the truth and stuff? And he was like, yeah, I know the truth, but, you know, I just want something to believe in, you know?
Yeah, wow.
You know, he knew, but he just didn't want to wake up, get out of the world. You know what I'm saying? He just was comfortable.
Yeah, and
living,
and the thing
in white supremacy is just like, wow.
And the thing is, these white supremacist holidays are so intergrained with religious texts. So we feel, sorry about that, Lola. So we feel that we have to celebrate these type of things because it's something that God would want. And who wants to defy God? You know what I'm saying? Who wants to go against God? So even the fact that most of our, you know, Bible text is rewritten and they even have a version called the King James version. Is rewritten to fit a white supremacist ideology, and it's so contradictory that people who still believe in the word will still go out and defend it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just the society that they built has a strong grip on us and the generations before us. So this is why I always teach my students and my children the truth. It's like the next generation, they have to be woken. So we have to teach them the truth. I tell my daughter now. My daughter's 13. I tell her tell the truth about Thanksgiving. I say, I don't want to celebrate this holiday, and this year, I'm taking her to the family house so she can see her other family members and stuff. But I say, this is gonna be the last time I'm taking you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because this is a holiday we can't be participating in, and I don't want to participate in. And teach our children about it so they can stop participating in these holidays and wake up. So one of these generations, they gotta wake. Because if we just keep feeding them and the same stuff, then we ain't gonna never wake up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like the way I see it is Thanksgiving is the same thing as Christmas. I see that as a regular day. That's all I see it as. I see that day as a regular day. I don't see nothing different from it. The only thing that I do celebrate or whatever is New Year's. New Year's.
Yeah, that's my holiday right there.
Yeah. New Year's, my birthday, and that's basically it. Cinco de Mayo. Here and there, Dominican Day Parade or whatever. That's what I do. But the whole Thanksgiving and Christmas, nah, that's not for me. That's white folk shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's so funny. What was refreshing about being overseas in Asia was that they did not celebrate that. And I would look up, it's like, wait a minute, it's Christmas, right? And it wasn't a holiday over there.
Uh-huh.
Thanksgiving wasn't a holiday over there. What's the other one? Easter wasn't a holiday over there.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, it just felt so different. And it felt refreshing not to have these European holidays. And I was like, whoa, this is nuts. Yeah.
You know why? Because everybody obviously didn't know. But let's say, for example, everybody knew. Everybody will be on code and just see that as a regular day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's why it was refreshing to you. And to be honest, that should probably be refreshing to me if I was over there,
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit is wild. And the fact that some people might be just listening to this and going like, how dare you go against a holiday that is so dear to all that other bullshit. In the end of the day, is because the people who are yelling at their phone right now is because you guys are indoctrinated with this whole thing. I don't see that as a holiday for me. We have to understand that our oppressors, our enslavers, they force these holidays upon us. That's the whole point. They force these holidays upon us the same way how they forced their language upon us. Our original language is not English, it's not Spanish. That's a European thing. Our original religion is not Christianity. That's a European thing that got twisted up. You feel what I'm saying? So for those people who are yelling at their thing, I'm unsubscribing, all this other bullshit, you know what I'm saying? That's doing all of that. You have to really look in the mirror and see why you want to celebrate that so hard.
Mm-hmm. I tell people, like, look, man, slavery's over with. We're not colonized anymore. You can let that stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And they look at you crazy, like, what? No, man. But people have to understand, just like you said, these are stuff that we learned from the days of colonization, from the days of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
These are the holidays that we was taught. Black people were only allowed to read the Bible when they allowed us to start reading.
Yep.
And down in Central and South America, you was forced to be a Christian.
Yep.
You would be a Christian or die.
Yep.
And so it's then people would throw the argument, well, they had Christianity before, slavery, before the white man. No, it was not, brother. You have to go back. If you go back, you understand that what we had, the story of the Creator sending his son to the earth to teach the righteous way to live, is an ancient story that came out of Africa, and no, it was not called Christianity. And Christianity is the religion. People got to understand that the religion is not the doctrine. You know what I'm saying? The religion is how the doctrine is interpreted and taught. So everybody, like you said, they got the King James version. We reading the King James version for what? King James, they wrote that version to
further enslave us.
Yeah, to enslave us, to justify their reasons. There are over 100 gospels attributed to Jesus, but yet people are only reading 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And who said, who said those 3 are the authentic ones and the rest ones are false?
Exactly.
Who said that crap?
Yep.
We didn't. So why the hell you only reading 3 gospels? There are 100 of them. You know what I'm saying? We got to go back and get what's ours, and we have to get back into what's ours. And I blow people's mind with this all the time. I say, if you actually think about it, Jesus was a man of voodoo. Jesus was a voodoo man.
Mm-hmm.
When they say, when Jesus disappeared for those 13 years, where did he go?
Mm-hmm.
They say his mom sold him into slavery in Egypt. Well, if he grew up in Egypt, he grew up in the land where black people that Kemetic religion was similar to what? Voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
So he left out of Egypt. He goes back over to Jerusalem. He starts preaching the gospel, starts preaching a different way of living. And they're like, whoa, hold up, man. What the hell are you talking about? That's why they persecuted him, because they didn't understand what he was talking about. You know what I'm saying? He's coming to teach us some different doctrines and different thoughts, different philosophy that they had no idea. They was like, look, we don't understand that. We're not used to that. And that way of life that Jesus learned was an African philosophical thought.
Yeah.
And African philosophical thought is deep into voodoo. And most of African religions, spirituality, they all the same. So people got to get back, and we have to get back to connect to what our ancestors had. You know what I'm saying? And people, you know what I'm saying, they don't understand. They probably get confused of voodoo. The word voodoo means creator. It means the created, the omnipresent.
Yeah, it's a spiritual system, right?
You know what I'm saying? It's the airway word for omnipresent. And white people are the ones who took the word voodoo and turned it to this evil crap.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Evil, negative thing, yeah.
Crap.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They wanted to flip the game on us, and we bought it.
Yep.
Not knowing better. So we have to get back to who we are as a people. And once we accept the ways of our ancestors, that's why I like this guy, Native American guy, Dr. Michael Yellowbird. In his book, man, he talks about getting back to your indigenous ways, getting back to learning the ways of the ancestors, being spiritual and accepting the spirits, and learning how to communicate with the spiritual world.
Mm-hmm.
Is what our ancestors did, and it makes you stronger as a people.
Yep.
And it's the same thing that African people did. We communicate with the spiritual world. We communicate with the ancestors, with the Orishas, and this was who we are, and this is how we pray as a people. But once we let that go, and we accept the Jesus, and even Judaism and Islam, once we accepted those things, we all just bow down to the European worldview and embracing their white supremacy culture, and we're strengthening it as we pray to their God that they gave us. You know, it is crazy. So we have to get back to who we are and be proud of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stand up as a proud people and be like, yo, this is who we are and this is who I am.
Yeah, self-reflection and reliance is very important, because what power comes from the mind. Once you establish who you are, and once you know who you are with your history, that's very dangerous because you start breaking away those cultural chains from white supremacy. Once you start breaking away those cultural chains, now you become a rebellious person, a rebel. You're going against what they taught you, what they indoctrinated you for. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that is very, very important. Going back to your ancestral roots, learning from what you learned, learning from what they were learning back then is extremely, extremely important. And once we start doing that, you'll start seeing that you'll become more freer, you'll become more enlightened, you'll actually start feeling a lot better about yourself and all that other crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll start being less stressed. You feel what I'm saying? The fact is, like, a lot of people from overseas, even some of my family, they're like, yo, I can't live the way Americans live. Y'all literally work till y'all die. Y'all work every other day, every other day, every other day, and then um y'all, y'all like all stressed out over there overseas. Usually you work and then you chill. You're chilling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you come back, you work or whatever, and then you chilling. The money over there goes a lot, like, longer and all that. So that really resonates with me. So we gotta. It's very true. We gotta go away, get away from that, European white supremacist mentality. We gotta break those chains away, because once we start doing that, then that's when we start becoming more freer than when we are.
Definitely, you hit the hammer, you hit the nail on the head, man.
As I try to always do. Sometimes I'll be rambling, but it is what it is.
Definitely, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I said you got to tell people you have to let go of Western culture because of the way it has taken the world in the direction of this materialistic world we living in. This capitalistic world society, just getting money, what I'm saying? And it's focused, that wasn't the focus of life.
Mm-hmm.
Before Europeans dominated the planet, people wasn't focusing on, I'm trying to get rich and stuff like that. You was focused on being one with the planet, being one with the earth, learning about the earth and how to be one, because we come from where? A spiritual world.
Mm-hmm. And we come from
the spiritual realm, and we got to go back to the spiritual realm.
Yeah, and that helped us out a lot because we had connections to the land and everything. A lot of people don't know that when the pilgrim, I don't call them pilgrims, I call them murderers. Pilgrim is another word for murderers. So when the murderers came here and they settled, they were going through famine. Let's keep it real. They were going through famine. They didn't know how to cultivate the land. They didn't know how to survive during the winter. They didn't know none of this shit. It was until the Indians came and said, yo, listen, fam, y'all fucking up. This is we're gonna help you out. You know what I'm saying? That's what the native people did. And that shows our compassion. That shows our way of humanity, saying like, all right, y'all bunch of murderers, but listen, we don't want y'all to die. This is documented. I think was it called Jamestown or whatever the case is. There was a whole winter where white folks were just eating each other.
Yeah.
White folks were just eating each other. I think that was in Jamestown, right?
I'm not sure, but that's real. That's real talk.
Yeah.
One of my favorite. I consider myself an Amos Wilsonist. You have some of the elders. They say they Garveyites. They follow Malcolm X. I'm a follower of Amos Wilson. I love his works, all his books. And one thing he always says is that the world is turned backwards. The people who are actually the savages, turn around and make, and try to make it seem like they're the civilized ones. And before Europeans came over here, living in Britain, France, Italy, and Spain, they was living that savage life. They was living a filthy, trifling, dirty life, and they didn't even like to wash, which is crazy.
It was up to the Moors, right?
How the hell you don't like to wash?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And there's a book, American Holocaust by David Sanders, and he says, and he's talking in there about when they was in the 1600s, and they was doing all these witch burnings and stuff like that, and killings of people and stuff like that. Man, in Italy, these motherfuckers will kill someone, rip their bodies apart, and sell it on the market.
Jesus.
Cannibalism
Savages
came from them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This cannibalism stuff came from them. And they want to try to sell it as, you know, the natives were cannibals or African people, you know, they was cannibals and stuff. Nah, they the ones who was out there killing their own people and selling their body parts. You know what I'm saying? And they came from that harsh, trifling, disease-set pool life that they lived in. This is why they had all this plagues. You know what I'm saying? They talk about the Black Plague.
Yeah.
That was only in Europe. It wasn't over here. It wasn't in Africa. It was only with them because they didn't like to wash and they lived in filth.
Yep.
And when they came here, they was like, holy, what the hell? They looked around and saw how clean the people were and how they bathing every day. You know what I'm saying? They eating fruits, eating vegetables.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They live in this natural life, and that's what they learned. They learned from us. They learned how to live from us. And when they learned that shit, they switched.
Yep.
And now the natives are the savages, and they try to be, and they present this. This is why, again, Amos Wilson's book, A Falsification of the African Consciousness, tells you that American history is nothing but mythology. And they flip the whole damn script and try to make it seem, oh, you know, they presenting this story of, you know, the cowboys. You know what I'm saying? You know, they just trying to make a way for themselves. You know, out on the range. You know, trying to pull up. They're living by the bootstraps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. These were just fucking straight murderers.
Yep.
Going around killing men, women, and children, killing children. You know what I'm saying? And killing the women, just straight killing them. And this is what they did. This is what cowboys did. This is what their job. This is what the American government paid them for. This is what Rangers. This is what they got. They got paid to kill Native Americans. That's it.
Yep.
So this image that they want to present as, you know what I'm saying? They just, you know, rugged men. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make a living out on a range. You know, law abiding. Get out of that bullshit. That was straight murderers, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
George Washington was a fucking straight murderer.
Yep.
He was famous for going over to the Ohio Valley, killing the Native Americans and taking their goddamn land, selling it to the rest of the Europeans that's coming over here. That's how that motherfucker got rich.
Yep. Yeah.
You
That's a
understand?
fact. That's a
shit
fact.
that they present. It's like, yo, we got to get out of this matrix, man.
Yeah, that's a fact, bro. That's a fact. Yo, we could literally do this all day, bro. But I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't want to go too long. You know what I'm saying? But tell the people where they could find you, man.
Yo, y'all can hit me up on Twitter, Herculean Karate. That's HerculianKarate. Karate, Karate.
Yeah, it's gonna be in the link description down below. Anyway, so yeah, continue.
King Hercules on the YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Just check me out. Yeah, and you know, I definitely gotta start posting more content. You know what I'm saying? Getting the message out. But yeah, you definitely want to hit me up. I respond quicker on Twitter though, definitely.
Oh yeah. He responds and he puts a lot of good information on Twitter and stuff. But listen, Herc, bro, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for finding the time to come in and having this conversation with us. Remember, all his Twitter and YouTube is going to be in the link on the description down below. And you guys go follow him. He has some great content. And you guys will learn a lot, just like I did. You know, like let's not get that whole thing twisted. No, but listen, Herc, thank you so much for coming in.
Yo, thank you, brother, man. I love listening to you, and I'm gonna stay tuned and be looking out for your new vids, man.
All right, so that was the episode with me and Hercules. Remember, all his information is gonna be in the link down below. Remember, guys, everything that I talk about. If you guys disagree, just hit me up on the comments, Twitter, Instagram. I'm always open. You know what I'm saying? If you guys do want to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that, all right, do y'all thing. You know what I'm saying? I personally don't do it, you know, and if I do want to celebrate somewhat something, I'll celebrate like togetherness, you know what I'm saying? But either way, I don't like celebrating a, you know, a Europeanized, whitewashed holiday when it's really celebrating, you know, Holocaust, you know, really celebrating a genocide, you know what I'm saying? So those are just my thoughts. But if you guys like what you heard, hit me up, you know, on Instagram and Twitter at the same name, radical_latino_, and I'm going to catch you guys later.